Hey guys, this is Jeff from Maverick. Believe it or not, one of my favorite ways to fish with my Euro Nymph rig is to fish dry flies. So I thought what I'd do today is show you three of my favorite. So what I thought I'd do today is show you three of my favorite ways to fish. What I do is show you three of my favorite ways to fish dry flies with my setup. Okay, so I've got my 10'3" Euro rod, 3-weight Euro rod. It's the Maverick dual rod, and I've got my Stinger comp with our Tracer 62 Euro line on it. So I'm all set up for Euro nymphing, but let's just say that the fish start rising, or I think for some reason they're looking up or they're coming up to the surface, and I want to start fishing some dries. So I'll show you three really easy ways to do that. So the first way is I'm just gonna cut off my nymph flies, my weighted nymphs, and I'm gonna replace them with some dry flies. Now I know what you're thinking. How are you gonna cast weightless flies with Euro line? Well, I'm gonna show you how to do that. I use this technique the most because it is the quickest and easiest. But let me show you what I got. Okay, so there's my anchor fly. I took off my weighted anchor, and here's my dropper tag that I put a dry fly on. Now this fly, this is the special fly. It's a mop style fly, but I've also added a couple other little things to help it out. I call it the transport fly. And what this fly does, it's a mop style fly, and it doesn't have any weight to it. But as it soaks up with water, it gains mass and weight, and it helps me cast. And you can drop another subsurface fly at the back of that, or maybe another dry fly. You know, if you want to fish three flies. It's very difficult to cast light flies with light line. Get untangled here. Okay, so my transport fly, it's now got water, it's now wet. And as you can see, I have quite a bit of casting distance. Pretty much the same casting technique as with my nymph flies. But you can see how my dry fly is just cruising along. Maybe you can see that transport fly, what it's doing. It's heavy in the air, so it gives me some casting weight and mass, but as soon as it hits the water, it kind of goes to neutral buoyancy because it's just water in there. That transport fly, it's not sinking, it's just kind of riding right below the surface. So I'm able to drift that dry fly. The other good thing about this is that I can lift my rod tip and I can dangle my dry fly up above the water, kind of like a caddis laying its eggs. I can just kind of dance it. And that's something you can't really do with shooting line because all of your line's on the water. So this is kind of a hybrid technique, but it's actually a lot better than a shooting line because you can suspend your line above because it's so light and get more movement out of your fly. My most memorable fish catch was using this technique. where the fly hadn't even hit the water yet, and a big 17 or 18-inch rainbow came and smashed that thing right out of the air as it was hanging like that. So it's a good hybrid technique between Euro nymphing and using a shooting line, because you can elevate it. You can get some really nice fly movement when you elevate your line off the water. The other good thing about this is that if you can see right here, we've got some faster moving water, and when I hold my line over that water's not affecting my drift. Whereas if I had shooting line and it were floating on the water, it would be down there already. So you don't have to mend like you do with a regular line. You can just hold the line above the water, above the faster water, and just let that thing drift right in the slow pocket there. So one thing to notice about this technique is watch how the transport fly, because it has mass and is full of water, kind of plops down and makes a splash. So there's going to be some instances where the fish are too spooky for that. That's going to scare them away, or they're going to get shy and not take the fly. So that brings me to technique number 2. In technique number 2, I'm gonna turn over my flies very gently on the water in order to not spook the fish. So let me rig up for that, and I'll show you what's going on. Here's technique number 2. So you can see here that the flies are landing a lot softer than with the transporter fly. There's no plop in the water, no splash, no noise. I'm still getting a pretty good drift. So here, let me show you what's going on here. Okay, so this is what we got. We've got my 2 dry flies here at the end of my tippet. Got about 6-7 feet of tippet, and then I've got my leader, my long 12-foot leader. This leader is tapered. It starts at 15-pound nylon, goes down to 12-pound. Then I've got a 10-pound section, and then an OX or a 1X sighter. So that's a full tapered leader, and most Euro Nymph leaders are tapered. I think I know ours are. So anyway, up here, way up here at the top of the leader, near the 15 and 12 pound knot, I put 2 little split shot, and that's what helps me get the leader out there. And then behind that, I've got a piece of foam, adhesive back foam that I just kind of tacoed on there. And that keeps my split shot from sinking the leader. So it just kind of, again, when this lands, it's kind of like the transporter fly. It's got weight and mass, but it's not going to sink. So it allows me to get the leader out there. And then because the leader's tapered, it allows me to turn over my flies. So that's technique number 2. It's a really good technique for soft landings, and and nice gentle presentations. So now that brings us to technique number 3. Technique number 3 is what I use if I'm going to do a lot of dry fly fishing, maybe a full day, maybe a whole hour or so. I'll take my nymph rig, and right now I've got my stinger comp with my Euro Nymph line, and I'm just gonna replace it with another stinger. I just carry this one with me all the time, and this has my shooting line on it. And this shooting line, it's a 2-weight. It's a Rio Creek, and it pairs really nicely with my 3-weight Maverick rod. So I just carry this around, and I just swap it over. Stand way back here because even the shortest cast on this is barely, it's almost too the camera's almost too close for this setup, because I'm barely flicking this, and I'm getting about 40 feet. So with this line, I can cast this 50 to 70 feet, no problem. You can do all the casts that you normally do with your shooting line. You can roll cast it. So yeah, this is just a really, really nice setup for a good full day of dry fly fishing. Oh, and the Maverick rod converts into a 9-foot rod as well. So right now it's set up as a 10-foot 3, but I can take this section out right here. Oh, sorry. I can take this section out right here. I can convert it to a 9-foot rod from a 10-foot 3. And I'll do that when it's really windy, or maybe I'm teaching somebody, a smaller person who just doesn't have the strength to push a big rod, or if I'm in a boat, a 9-footer's nice, and maybe a really small stream that has a lot of obstacles and brush and trees. So this line works in both configurations, 9 feet or 10-foot 3. It's just a really, really nice shooting line. And I didn't get this line for free, or I didn't get paid by Rio to say that. I just really like this line, and I paid my $80 just like everybody else. So with the first 2 techniques, you can't do anything like roll casts or anything like that, but you know, they have their advantages too. They're quicker to change over. You can elevate the line above the water, whereas with this setup, I can't do that. I have to mend with this faster water right here. If I'm gonna fish on the other side of it, I'm gonna have to mend, and that's not always the best. But so yeah, every situation's different. So that's 3 ways that I fish dry flies with my Euro setup. If you haven't fished dries with your Euro rod before, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Try these 3 techniques and go catch some fish. All right, let's go fishing now, Winston. I lost my dog. Winston, let's go. Let's go.